structure your small groups around the purposes and the habits that produce growth. The big idea is that you need two types of gathering for spiritual growth. You need large group celebration and small group fellowship. Large group worship or celebration and small group fellowship. This is the way they did it in the Bible. It says that they met day after day in the temple courts and from house to house. In the temple courts, that's where they met for worship, and then they met from house to house in fellowship. Large group worship, small group fellowship. Large group worship, small group fellowship. And small groups are the cells of the body of Christ. And healthy cells produce a healthy body. You'll never be any healthier than the cells in your body. Small groups are the most effective way for closing the back door to your church. You want to stop losing people? Get them involved in cell groups. Now, small groups, here's the difference. Most churches have small groups as a program. At Saddleback, small groups aren't our program. They are our church. Our church, we tell you, you're not really a part of our church unless you're in a small group. That's why we have over 7,000 small groups in this church in 190-something cities from Santa Monica to San Diego. I told you the other day, more people in our church are in a small group than come to church on the weekend. Small groups aren't our program. They are the church. Without cells, you wouldn't have a body. And so the Bible tells us over and over again, they had large group worship, small group fellowship, temple courts, house to house. Now, I don't have time for complete explanation of our PD small group strategy, so let me recommend a book, just came out, Planning Small Groups with Purpose. Steve Gladen, our pastor here, who's a genius at small groups, just wrote this. I want you to write this down on your notes. Where is it here to write it down? Maybe it's not there. The church must grow larger and smaller at the same time. That's one of our slogans. The church must grow larger and smaller at the same time. It grows larger through worship and smaller through fellowship. And we base our strategy on the New Testament model of Acts 5:42. They met day after day in the temple courts and from house to house. Large group celebration, small group fellowship. There are many, many examples of the church meeting in homes, obviously, in the New Testament. In fact, it's interesting that for the first 300 years of the church, by the way, the first 300 years of the church was the fastest growing period in church history. Christianity grew faster by percentage-wise the first 300 years than it has since. Now, what can we say about those first 3 centuries? Number one, it was illegal to be a Christian most of that time. You were under persecution. Persecution doesn't hurt the church. It actually makes it stronger. It was illegal. And number two, there were no buildings. There were no church buildings. I've been in one of the earliest church buildings. It's been destroyed now, but it was in Malula in Syria, built in about 310. But before that time, everybody met in homes. The fastest period of growth of the church, they didn't have buildings. And so they met wherever they could.